Hey Lakeside Groupers, it's Pastor Marshall. I hope you enjoyed the message on Sunday from Luke chapter 12, starting in verse 35, and I'm glad that you've come to group to talk about it. It's pretty significant things for us to talk about in this passage. I want you to do something for me today. At least before you dig into the passage, I'd like to just have a little bit of an icebreaker, a little discussion. I'm assuming that there's going to be at least one person in your group that has some connection to the military. So what I'd like for you is to tell some personal stories, if you have them, if you were in the service. What was it like before you were deployed, and what was it like when you came back? If you're the spouse of someone that was in the service, what was it like before they deployed? What was it like when they came back? If you were a child, if your dad, your mom was in the service and they were deployed, what was it like before and after? Of course, we're having that conversation. I told you Sam's story on Sunday. She's been married to Todd, who's been in the Navy for 12 years now. I want to hear your stories. So that's the first thing that I want you to do. And the reason that we're doing that is because we're just dealing with Jesus' words here in this passage about his going and his coming. Now that's the second thing that I want you to talk about in your group. There's a fork in the road in this passage. Now we can have a decision. Are we talking about Jesus' passion? Is he speaking directly about his passion, meaning that he's going to the cross, he's going to die on the cross, he's going to be buried for 3 days, and then he's going to rise again? Or is Jesus talking about his parousia, his second coming? Is he talking about that he's going to go when he, after 40 days on the day of Pentecost, after 40 days appearing, he's going to go, and then he hasn't come back yet, but he said he's going to return, his second coming, his parousia. I want you to talk about that. Now, I told you on Sunday, I think that in this passage, Jesus is talking about his going to the cross, his death, his burial, his resurrection. But I also told you it's open for debate. You can land on either side of this fence, or you can go down different forks in this road. So what I want you to do in your small group is I want to invite you to read the passage with a piece of paper in your hand. Everybody has a piece of paper in their hand, or maybe if you have a whiteboard in your small group area, that you would have two columns, and one would say passion and the other would say parousia, and draw a line down. And I want you to read through the passage and try to make a list of where you think the words that Jesus is speaking land. Now that list will hopefully give you a reasonable explanation to what he's talking about, but it won't solve the problem. It wouldn't be a fork in the road if it was that easy. So then the other thing that you would do is you would practice in your group how we as believers can have different different opinions about the same passage of Scripture. And how do we care about one another when that's going on? Literally, while I'm filming this, the eclipse is finishing up outside, and a lot of times when something like this is going to happen, some big event in the solar system, then we get a lot of talk about Jesus is coming back. And certainly he could come back any time. He said that he's going to come back like a thief. The other thing that I want you to talk about is I want you to talk about how do you handle this Jesus is coming and we don't know when it's going to happen? Were you hopeful that he was coming today? When this eclipse happened, was your mindset just a little different? I know that mine was. This morning when I was walking and praying before the eclipse, I spent a little time just thinking this could be it. I might have said goodbye to my wife on earth for the last time today. I might have said goodbye to my kids on earth for the last time today. Events like this prompt our mind to the idea that Jesus is coming back. But in this passage, Jesus is talking about how we always need to have that prompting. So I guess what I want you to talk about is, what do you do to remind yourself that he could come back any day? And then the other thing that I want you to talk about is, what is the danger of people that live maybe overemphasizing Jesus' return? Are there dangers of overemphasizing Jesus' second coming? What could be the negative effects of that? Well, every week I want you to talk about your favorite things in the passage, and I want you to share them with each other. And then I also want you to talk about maybe what you didn't like, what you struggled with. My favorite thing in this passage is the first story, that when the master comes back from the wedding, he finds his servants looking out the windows, looking out the peephole. They are eager for him to return. And he comes in the door, and he has them all sit down at the kitchen table, and he puts on the apron. and goes in and makes them dinner and serves them. And this is a picture of God. This is a picture of Jesus. And the Bible talks about a great wedding feast that's being prepared for us in heaven, that we're going to sit down and God is going to serve us. That blows my mind. And what I dislike is I dislike the second story. I dislike this servant who was the number one servant. He was the most respected. All the other servants were put in charge of him, and he took advantage of it. And I told you that viscerally it connects with me when you think about your children and having a babysitter, which Claudia and I certainly had babysitters for our kids when they were younger, and I was a babysitter when I was a teen. And that the babysitter would take advantage of your trust and potentially be cruel to your children, even starving them so that they could eat the food that was given for everybody, sending them to bed early, locking them in their room so that they could have friends over, or maybe take advantage of some sort of alcohol that you have in the house, or some sort of television show that they're not supposed to watch. I don't like this servant, and it matters to me as a pastor because all of you have been put under my care, and I have to work hard for that. So I don't like that. Well, you should talk about what was your favorite thing in the passage and what did you not like. I hope you have a great group. God bless. Bye-bye.